Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyadhi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunara Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha Utpatti Prakarana, section 1. Sage Vasishtha is giving an introduction to his teachings, implying, giving a general essence and the purpose behind all Yoga Vasishtha volumes. Avidya Sansritir Bandho Maya Moho Mattamaha Kalpina Kalpitaniti Namani Yasyaha Sakala Vedibhi. This is how the entire Yoga Vasishtha is written, 90% in this particular verse style. What has been presented by great scholars of scriptures entitled Avidya, ignorance. The same ignorance is described as samsara, world process. It's also described as bandhan, bondage, or maya, a cosmic magic, illusion. Mahat, the great one, relates to cosmic mind. Or in simple term, tamas, darkness. All these are used as synonyms in different contexts. As long as this world, prapanch, exists in your view, there is bondage. Remember, when we talk of triad, I'm never tired of it. Triad, seer, seen, and sight. Seer is the subject. As long as the seer relates itself to the world of seen, seer, seen. Seen means all that you view come within your view. All that comes within your view is all that expresses through your mind, your intellect, your ego, your senses. For easy understanding, think of the sun and all that sun brings about upon the earth, all illuminations. You can go on counting them, recording them, but all the reflections, etc., they are illusory, maya. Sun alone is real. But who understands this? Sun alone understands it. If you want to realize that all this is illusion, you must be the sun. That's called Jnani Drashta, enlightened seer. But imagine, reflected suns are countless reflected suns. Think of countless jars of water. And in every jar there is a reflected sun. And from the point of view of the reflected sun, there is sun, and there are many other suns also shining in different. All the world that really doesn't have reality, if the drashta, the seer within you, is not enlightened, then its vision turns towards a blend of self and not self. Self, the sun. You are also seeing the sun, but not recognizing it's only a little orb. More attractive is all those rainbows and many colors. You turn away from the sun, it blinds the eyes. But you see, look at all the reflections and colors. So, that's the predicament of individual soul. Individual soul is ajnani drashta. It's a seer, but not enlightened. And from individual soul's point of view, the world process is indescribable. When did it begin? When will it end? There is no limit to it. And how many things does it contain? There is no limit to it. So, the message behind this, from being ajnani drashta, unenlightened, ignorant seer, be enlightened seer. And that's the purpose of Yoga Vasishtha's teaching. And that's the truth of the matter. Because real seer, you think you are, but you are not. You go from dream to dream, seeing so many things. And when you wake up, find yourself on the bed, you realize all that you have been seeing has been illusory. And yet, you continue to experience pleasure and pain, thrill and torture. Everything was there. But nothing existed. The reality is beyond all these illusions, move away. Then there is the reality, the absolute self. In this world, everyone is involved with a sense of multiplicity. This is me, but there are so many me's. Everyone says me, me. There's so many cats meowing. All these me's have no reality. And to put another point, mine. To everyone, you are sticking to so many things. And to consider them, that's mine. If you stick to even concepts, ideas, and this idea is mine. You stick to your kitchen knife and say, this is mine. Me and mine. How many are me as a me and mine? Can you imagine? Just with human beings, quite a lot. But you must realize human beings are not the only living beings. There are birds, animals, trees, all are living beings. All that you experience is called drishya, translated as seen, seer, seen. All that come within your view, that's called drishya. Seer is called drashta. Drashta is of two types. Jnani Drashta, one who is enlightened. One who is enlightened, for him, Drishya doesn't exist. There is nothing but I am that absolute self. One who is enlightened is like the sun. Ask the sun, how many are you? Suppose the journalist goes to the sun. Humorous way I'm telling, but sun, and he reports there are millions and millions of suns on the Earth planet. And the sun doesn't do anything about it. So that's drashta, jnani drashta. For jnani drashta, there is only one absolute seer, and there's nothing to be seen. The infinite consciousness, but no content in the consciousness. How to lead an individual to understand that this is the reality. First point, it is the reality. Sun is up there, and all reflected suns seem to have great importance, great value. Each one illumines, each one shines, each one struggles within the water, plays with the fishes and frogs if they are in the water. And each one lives a different type of existence. And yet, only one sun, the absolute. All this is not real. This exactly applies to practical reality. In other words, first to start questioning, who is the seer? What makes me experience? What is the source of my experience? Upanishad leads you step, little by little, step by step, but in a very precise manner. First answer, the seer, senses. If you don't have senses, you'll be a senseless, inert being. But can you give all the credit to the senses? There are times when you are seeing, and someone says, "Did you see someone pass by?" And you say, "No." The person becomes angry. He says, "Are you blind? The person passed by with a whole crowd." The person says, "I'm not blind, but my mind wasn't there." Implies even if your senses are active, you cannot experience the world. So senses are not the source of your experience. Mind is the source. But even mind can go into so many directions. It's the intellect that gives evaluation to mental perceptions. The answer is the mind. The world is illumined by senses. Senses are illumined by your mind. Mind is illumined by your intellect. But your intellect, you have to put yourself to advanced state, your intellect is not individual intellect. When you turn your attention to waves in the ocean, your intellect is like a little wave in the ocean of cosmic mind. So that intellect is illumined by cosmic mind. And reality behind the cosmic mind is the absolute Brahman. So then who is the seer? Who is the knower? Who is the enjoyer? Brahman. And that reality is never affected. No matter how many reflected suns may be there, each having countless experiences. But the reality that there is the sun shining in the sky, that is never affected. Brahman is that reality, absolute reality. Now, how to bring this into your experience? That's where the subtle point lies. One who is told like this, that Brahman alone is, then the mind starts working. That the world I am seeing, that world is not real. But then you start enumerating. The sky is not real. The mountain is not real. The ocean is not real. My body is not real. My friends are not real. My possessions are not real. To practice the utter reality of the world has brought lots of problems to the whole burden. Yoga Vasha calls this called Mithya Pralap. Is false, collecting heap of falsehood on your head. Vain palabras. So spiritually you should not stay with palabras. That's what the moral behind it. You should not, having read a few books of Vedanta, you shouldn't go on saying, do you know the highest truth? And I can tell you, and you repeat the scriptures, Brahma Satyam Jaganamithya. If Brahman alone is real, this whole world is false. You are not real. Etc., etc. But this is called palavras. Those words are neither helpful to you nor to others. They confuse everybody. So in other words, if you stay with intellectual knowledge of Vedanta, what you read, then you are staying with concepts. And when you talk about Vedanta, you are using words to relay your concepts to others. And this is not realization. No matter how expressive you are and how well versed you are in scriptures, you can quote scripture after scripture. That's how Ravana has been portrayed in the Ramayana. He was a Vedic scholar. Only none of the authors of Ramayana give any display of his verbosity. But they all say he was a great scholar of Vedas. That means with 10 heads, he could describe one verse in 10 different ways. But he ended up being a terrible demon. So spirituality is not palabras. It has to enter your life. It should enter into your daily conduct. How you think, how you speak, how you perform your actions. You should touch your actions and turn your actions into karma yoga. Touch your feelings, turn them into bhakti yoga. touch your will and turn it towards Raja Yoga, yoga of meditations, and touch your intellect and turn it to Jnana Yoga. These are, I'm giving extensions of the meaning. And when that setup has entered your personality, Karma Yoga, removing the impurities, bhakti, allowing your loving heart to have a profound experience of divine love. Your willing movement, what to will, becomes clear as you practice dhyana, as dhyana aspect advances. Along with all this, now comes the climax, your understanding of yourself. The understanding of yourself will be, I don't belong to the bucket. I am the sun. And what's more surprising, I'm shining in all the buckets. Not only in buckets, even things are illuminations out of buckets. The entire world of experience is absolute self turned into the entire world process. It's called illusory modification. Vivatta of Brahman. And simple illustration is given. There is nothing but a rope, and in certain situation you find the rope turns into a snake. The snake never existed. Similarly, this whole world experience doesn't have a reality. I'm talking about reality as mystical, spiritual, real, absolute reality. It doesn't have reality. Truth that is defined as that which never changes. Same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's called reality. Now, try to find anything in the world and name it. And try to see whether it matches up with the definition of truth. Nothing matches up with the definition. Now, the scholars of Vedanta, whose Vedanta is limited to palabras, verbos, they bring out so many logical methods. And people following their teachings, they divide themselves in so many groups and so many sects. I follow Vishishta Advaita, specialized Advaita. I follow absolute Advaita. I follow this Advaita, that Advaita. Thereby, drishya, the world process, becomes more complicated for you. You don't. Real movement is that which puts an end to the drishya, whatever you see through your mind and senses, that fades away. What makes you see, that shines forth. Sun becomes highlighted. All illuminations are not given credit. Brahman is the highlighted truth, the truth. All that appears real, they are like reflections. And they are not the truth. If this point is not understood clearly, instead, if you continue with ritualistic practices of religion, no matter how long you may practice, you remain in a state of bondage. Now here, this again creates confusion with people, but Vedanta sometimes speaks up the truth. You may take recourse to thousands of pilgrimage centers. You may repeat millions of mantras. You may do lots and lots of austerities. But if your mind is not thoughtful, then all that you are doing, you are counting. To end up having done lots of mantra, you end up saying, I've done 5 times Purashcharanas. So write it down. You count all of your austerities. And then you ask, where is my liberation? If that is the attitude, then you can go on endlessly, visiting pilgrimage center and after pilgrimage center, doing mantra after mantra, and taking recourse to austerity after austerity. The message behind it, to do everything is wonderful, mantra, austerity, etc. But it should allow your mind to become thoughtful. If you shut the door and you want to worship the sun, bring light, but keep everything shut. No matter how long you do the prayers and how many mantras you may recite of the sun, all the 1,000 names of the sun, your room will not be illumined. But while reciting the mantras, learn to open the windows. Allow your heart to open. Allow your intellect to become free of complexes. Understanding is the highlight. If these things you do, rituals, etc., they are leading you towards profounder understanding. And you are open to that understanding, not confined only to counting your austerities. Then you will attain the enlightenment. But if you are just counting the austerities and go on quoting that if one were to do this, one will get Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, and loka of all lokas. Yoga Vasishtha says you will end up being a loco. As long as the world remains real to you, you can't be enlightened. Because truth is that which never changes, never undergoes any change, and can never be destroyed. But all worldly objects that you consider real, they go on changing. Your concepts change. Your room undergoes changes, so you need to go on cleaning every day. I'm joking, but to understand everything, even your study of the world, the whole earth planet undergoes changes. And put it shortly, even this type of earth planet has come and gone 1 million times. Not just the earth. Earth is the earth. The earth is in vain. The entire universe is described in the terms of creation, dissolution, and then in between sustaining process. Pralaya doesn't relate just to the Earth planet. It relates to the entire universe. All that shouldn't give you too much stress in understanding. Simple point, things are changing. Anything that changes cannot be eternal. The truth never changes. It is that truth, Satyameva Jayate, that truth that triumphs. All things that change, they will change, they will move away. If you are gripped by ignorance, then your soul, the individual soul, becomes the seed for the world process. The world process is like a big tree. Every individual is experiencing the world. How vast? Everyone is seeing the same world, but it's not exact experiences. Everyone has their own way of looking at you. So everyone's universe is as vast as anybody else's universe. This entire universe, the source behind it is your individualized soul, jiva. Jiva, the soul that has lost, that's not aware of its essential nature. It's like a reflected sun in a jar of water. What's being described is the power of ignorance. Individual soul goes after reflections. Now try to understand the power of reflection. Sun shines, so many things happen. And if you have a little glass, mirror type, all you can see just watching the glass. Vast universe, vast world around you, and all reflecting in the glass. And then there is another glass, another mirror nearby. What you are seeing, that mirror is showing reflection as well as your reflection. This is what we call world within the world. Countless world systems, because they're all reflections. And there's no limit. There's no count. But when you attain liberation, all this moves away. Moves away, again, is a word. Darkness can be described in many ways, countless ways. Ask a child to describe darkness. Ask in different stages, in different angles. And people who believe in ghosts, etc., say how they travel in the darkness, the nishachar. Forces of darkness are countless. But when the sun shines, all the darkness is not. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. From darkness lead me to light. Asato ma sadgamaya. From untruth lead me to the truth. And Mrityorma amritam gamaya. From the world of mortality lead me to immortality. It's the Vedic prayers. What you are being told that if ignorance, you are trapped by ignorance, the whole world is with you. Not ordinary world, not just one or two, just Madras or UP or Miami or California, not that. The entire universe. Universe of past, present, and future. All arises, just like out of a seed. Big tree arises, a giant tree. Similarly, out of your soul, led by ignorance, the vast world process comes to exist. And from that world, you cannot attain absolute fulfillment. No matter how things become both pleasant, you may have all types of success. Fame, name can be endowed with lots of power and lots of glory. So much so the scriptures describe, you are the greatest one and the entire world follows your command. And consider that one unit of happiness. And then Upanishad goes on describing those who are in a little higher level of consciousness. Their happiness is 100 times this particular measure of happiness that I described, this unit of happiness. And so goes on describing, 100 times goes to Gandharvas. 100 times Gandharva goes to a Deva. So it goes on until it describes Brahma. But even all that happiness compared to Brahman is nothing. A simple simile is given of parallel mirrors. Anything placed between parallel mirror, it brings about illusions that goes to infinity. There is no end to it. Similarly, the world that is experienced, you go to Alaska and they are experiencing the same world. New Zealand. Ask even the fishes, they have their problems. Birds in the air. All over the world is full of. But all that is illusory, not the reality. But jiva, your soul, if it is restricted by ignorance, then you are facing all this, the entire universe that I have talked about. Everybody's mind goes into everywhere. World experience is like reflection in a mirror, speaking allegorically. Your mind may suddenly create a whole imagery of either joyous situation or very terrible situation. And anywhere you look, it seems, if you are under terror, the whole world is filled with terror. But if your understanding changes, change occurs in the entire universe of yours within a moment. Siya Ram Maya Sabdagati. The whole universe is so wonderful. The glory of God. Every little creature is singing His glory. This being so, now, if anyone were to study without proper acharan, proper conduct in daily life, the conduct lies in the form of integral yoga. But if you continue simply theoretically satisfying yourself that you have studied Vedanta, then the predicament is that you don't attain liberation. Liberation is attained by negating the illusory world process. But if as long as you view and calculate that I have negated 10%, I have negated 50%. Now I am negated 100%. So remember, you are remembering 100%. And that 100% world is still there. That you are negating it. So realizing process is not so simple like a mental act, an intellectual grasp. If you were to say, well, let's shut out the world. The world is illusion. Get into samadhi. Again, samadhi gives two. People who are not mature enough for spiritual progress. Countless of them turn to samadhi, but they don't have subtle understanding behind it. And they count upon their samadhi just like they count your malas, how many you did, how many hours you can stay. That's where the mind gets. And then people are bold enough sometimes to stay in samadhi for even a month. You'll be surprised. You steal the hibernating habit of the bears. That's why they are called yogi bears. But they remain bears. Simply because you shut your mind from the realities of the world, that's not the solution. If shutting that as a means to allowing your mind to understand spiritual scriptures, it leads you to more becoming deeply involved with satsanga and reflection and change in your conduct, then it's in order. But if it is all based on how much I can sacrifice, how much I can do austerity, how many pilgrimage centers can I see, how long can I stay in samadhi, if you have that understanding, liberation is far off. Because after you get out of samadhi, you are facing the same world. So the world is always there. So you have a constant struggle within yourself. When to stay in samadhi, what to do with the world. One side samadhi, one side world. Now you must realize these points are given for very mature understanding. Real samadhi means a change occurs within your mind. And even while you are doing your duties, you develop an internal process of being inspired, becoming more understanding, and the inner potentiality begins to blossom. If that is happening, your inner potentiality blossoming, then whatever you do is perfectly in order. If you do practice samadhi, wonderful. That samadhi will lead you to nirvikalpa samadhi, which is the ideal. Nirvikalpa samadhi is another name, sahaj samadhi. Gita has described it, that it is a samadhi that becomes continuous. Just like you have the I am the body is a continuous reality. You don't repeat mantras. I am the body. And meditate upon the feet. Meditate upon the arms. Meditate upon the nose. I am the body, I am the body. I am the body is such, spontaneous. Similarly, the awareness, I am the Absolute. That again is not a matter of speaking out, it's a matter of experience at the heart level. Your speaking, etc., movement, etc., remains all practical. But deep down experience completely undergoes a change. That's Sahaj Samadhi. That leads you to liberation. Not shutting out the world and staying cut off from the world. Because you may stay for a long time, but you are coming back to the world with bigger problem, how to face the world. As long as mind holds the reality of the world, no matter whatever you do, all your samadhi, all your mantras, all the sacrifice you do, if that mind's holding the world as real remains firm, you are not liberated. And if you, after hearing all this, you decide to shut out all the thoughts of reality about the world, you develop that idea, I'm going to from tomorrow shut it out, no more word. Then the world process becomes more real for you. If you understand illusion as illusion, then you don't go up fighting the illusion with your muscles. But you are saying it is an illusion and still you are fighting. Then figure that out. And with this I'll conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.